Hey guys, we had another patron game to analyze. This is from Turbo. He was 1091 and very interesting game with a couple of really good learning opportunities. Before we get into the game, I wanted to mention that I'm putting my courses on sale 50% off for Easter. So there's a code in the description below. You can use that at checkout and it will take off 50% on any of the courses. So if you've been waiting to get one for a sale, this is your moment. It's going to be live from whenever I post this video until up through Easter. So probably Sunday, Monday, I'll take it off. So anyway, that's available. And having said that, let's go ahead and jump into this game. All right, so we have E4, we get a Italian game, and everybody's just kind of developing their pieces. Now, this is a really, I would say, pretty common moment. So white pins the knight, right? And what's a really common thing that people like to do when their pieces are pinned? Well, they put the bishop to block it, right? So you get this queen and bishop battery blocking, lined up on the bishop with the knight in between, right? And now white plays the move knight to d5. Very logical looking move, right? You're bringing the knight to the center. It's well defended. You're putting some pressure on some other pieces. Like why could this move not be good, right? Well, if you want to pause, black has a very nice tactic available to them, which wins a piece. So see if you can see that. And if you had a chance to look at that, the move that black can play is knight takes d5. And this is always something that you want to consider whenever there's a queen and bishop lined up on your bishop on g5. Okay, so if you pin the knight on f6 with your bishop on g5 and black has these two pieces, you always have to consider this move. Because what happens when they do this, in this case, they took the piece, they took the knight. Sometimes there's a pawn there. Sometimes there's not anything there, but they can still move their knight there because when they move there, it creates this attack on your bishop. And now if white would have just captured this, black's going to take on g5 and you end up losing this piece, right? And so you come out down a piece. The other way that this works is what happened in the game is white can take here, trying to throw in that trade before they recapture, but the knight on d5 actually goes back, takes the piece, and saves itself. And so you end up, black has 3 pieces and white only has 2, right? And so this is a very common tactic. A lot of people miss it if you haven't seen it before and you're not, paying attention to that. Now, I should point out, white could have tried to recapture here with the pawn. The idea is that now after this happens, you do have this capture here with your pawn and you can get your piece back. That would have been a little bit better for white, but it's still not a good position because black has the bishop pair for the moment. Even if you take this, the queen's coming over to your king side. d5 is happening. It's a rough position for white to be in. And they still lost a pawn, right? And so even that is not good for white. It would have been a little bit better. But moral of the story, be very careful when there's this battery lined up on your bishop and you want to play knight to d5. What white could have done is captured first and then, drop the knight in. And now it's fine. You do have to give up your bishop to do that. I'm not saying that's the best move, but if you want to play knight d5, that's how you have to do it. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the game. And so we end up like this, where now white's just down a piece, and it's just very rough from here. But I admire Turbo's persistence. They didn't quit. They kept playing, and you're going to see how that was a very good decision, right? So, all right, h3, bishop d5, okay. Knight comes in, queen has to go back. And c4, g4. All right. So I don't like this move. There's other ways to, yes, there's a threat here on your pawn, but there are other ways to deal with that. I think you need to just play something like king h1, maybe queen f3 to defend it this way. King h1 gets out of the pin so that the bishop can't take it. The problem with g4 is, remember, pawns can't go backwards. And so you've created some permanent weaknesses that you can't fix anymore for this game, right? And so now if, h5 looks like a good move, even f5 is okay for black, getting the rook involved because this guy's pinned, so this pawn can't really help. I think that's what black did play. f3, I don't really like black locking this up. I think just kind of opening it up, playing f5, taking, white's going to be in trouble. It's going to be very difficult to defend your king now because all the pawns have been pushed forward. So I don't like that decision. But once it gets locked up, it's not so bad. All right, so let's keep going. So there's a pawn over here that's could be captured. I don't know if white didn't want to because they didn't want to bring the queen over, but I think, you know, a pawn is a pawn, and if you're down a piece, you got to get back in the game somehow. And so if your opponent gives you a pawn, I think you need to take it. And so I always want to be asking yourself when they make a move, is that piece defended well enough, right? And there's one, but then we have an extra one. So just, you know, keep checking those things. All right, here we go. Okay, we get some trades. F4. I like the battery. White's trying to do something, even though they're down the piece. I like this. It kind of shuts out the bishop and gives white some attacking chances with the pawns. So I like that decision. Queen to d2. Personally, I would have liked to see a move like king h2 or king h1 because I want to be able to use my pieces, right? And if it's pinned, I can't use it. I can't do anything. Even if there was all of a sudden a piece that I could capture with my rook or something to do with my, I can't do it because it's pinned. So I'm not going to stay in that. I want to get out of the pin. So that's what I would have played. But queen d2 is not bad. Okay, the rook comes over. All right, I like what white's doing. They're setting up to, you know, create an attack over here. I think that's very smart. And there you go. You got the pawns moving. And this is good. Like when you're down, when you're losing, you're not going to win the game by just playing normal, most likely. Like, all right, well, let's just trade some pieces. Okay, let's just fight for the open file, trade some rooks. No, you don't want to trade. You want to mix it up. You want to do some sort of different things, right? And this is a good example. White's trying to push forward and make something happen. And maybe your opponent messes up and blunders and you get, you know, you catch a break. So I think that's a smart decision. All right, so we trade here. Kind of had to do that. And then this is very good. I like this. You know, white is giving themselves an opportunity to create a very serious threat, right? All right, now at this point in the game, I want to draw your attention to white's clock, okay? Because I think the time management was not done very well here. So white has 10 minutes, 24 seconds. You have an opportunity to create an attack, okay? They moved, I guess, pretty much instantly here, which, okay, this move is pretty straightforward. And now this happens. Now, you were just losing this whole game. You now have an opportunity to take a queen. You also have an opportunity to go check with the queen. And they, looks like, didn't spend any time and just immediately played queen h7 check. Now, I think that's too fast. I think you need to pause and you need to think through, well, should I just take it right away? Does it benefit me to throw this check in first? At least think a little bit, right? And then here, and watch the time again, 10:24. 3 seconds were spent, and this move is actually a blunder. So my advice for Turbo is slow down a little bit, especially when you get into critical moments. And how do you know this is a critical moment? I mean, you've got a queen that you can take. You've got a king that's very exposed that you can put in check. You were losing and now you're potentially winning. All of those things tell me this is a critical moment. So I want to spend, you know, a little bit more time and make sure I'm playing the best moves, or at least as best as I can. And I think if you spent longer than 3 seconds, you probably would have saw that black had this move, queen g8, right, to save the queen and stop the check. And, you know, this is the kind of stuff that chess is too hard to give away games like this, in my opinion, that are, you just, when you have them in the bag, you want to make sure you get the victory, basically. So I understand it happens. We all make mistakes, but I think you could have avoided this one by you know, slowing down a little bit, right? So white needed to just take the queen, and then white's completely winning, and black has no chance. After this, black is totally winning again, and white doesn't really have anything. Now, luckily for white, black messed this up big time. So the rook is covering this, so the queen, it doesn't matter if white gets a queen, it's covered, right? But after this move, this was a huge blunder, and I'm going to let you guys pause. What should white play in this position and why? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that and you said rook a7 check, you are correct. This is what was played in the game, and black is in a very nasty position because the pawn is stopping them from going forward. You obviously can't stay here because of the rook, and this pawn is stopping you from going over there. So you have to go here or here, but the problem is then there's this check and you lose your rook. And so weird how that worked out, but again, you know, black has thrown the game and now white is in the driver's seat. And from here on out, it was pretty straightforward. White was able to just take everything And I mean, I'll show you what happened, but pretty straightforward. There you go. Game over. So got the victory in the end, but really going back to that critical moment, where was it? Right around here. Okay, you got to spend more time when you're at these critical moments, especially when you have it. It wasn't like white was in time pressure, right? Plenty of time here. So I think that was a very, very big mistake, this queen h8 move. But it worked out in the end. And yeah, at this position, what black should have done was move the queen somewhere over here, like here or here or here, something like this. The point is that you want to give your king an escape route. So after check, king here, and then here. And actually, you know, it makes more sense to defend your rook because you don't want to actually lose the rook. So I guess, yeah, queen b7 or queen a7 would probably be the best move, something like this. And then check, king goes here. And it's still an interesting position, but actually engine is saying that white is still winning. That's amazing. So let me actually go back. I didn't realize it was that tricky. Let's see. What is the correct move? Queen d6 is the correct move. Okay. Because if you go anywhere here, I see. If you go here or here, you lose the rook after the check. If you go here, you don't lose the rook, but you lose... What do you lose? Oh, yeah, you just kind of lose this pawn. You lose a bunch of stuff here. The rook can... Yeah, I see. Wow. White's actually just winning. Okay, interesting. So that was more tricky than I realized. But anyway, the key takeaway, going back to the game, was slow down when you get into these critical moments because you don't want to throw away, you know, a nice win like this. But anyway, interesting game. Thank you for sending that in. And then, oh, the other key takeaway, which I will go back to. Let's see, where was it? Early on in the game, remember this guy right here. Yeah, knight to d5, very common idea, and a lot of people actually miss this playing as black, that you can win a piece by just simply taking it. Okay, so keep that in mind. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something from this. I'll see you next time.